Hello and welcome back. If you are new here, I am Derek Livingston and I am a freelance sports photographer for a D2 college. Today I'm going to be doing a lens review and talking about my experience using the Canon RF 100-500 f 4.5 to 7.1 lens. And what I mean by 4.5 to 7.1 is at 100 millimeters, it is a 4.5. And as you zoom out to 500, it's going to closing down that aperture all the way up to 7.1 as the max. For this lens to be a 500 millimeter, it comes in really handy that it has image stabilization on the lens with 3 modes. So if you're on the Canon R6 like I am, and you have the in-body turned on and the lens turned on, you're gonna be perfectly fine shooting at 500 millimeters when you have the proper amount of light. And even if you're a little dimly lit and you need to go a little slower, it's gonna have some stabilization to help you out there. Now this lens goes new for $2,700. Luckily for me, I got a rental for about $120 for 4 days. So I figured that'd be a great way to see if this is a lens that I want to work towards in the future. One other key factor is having a lens that is weather sealed, and this lens is weather sealed, which would come in very handy when shooting outdoor sports. If there's a little bit of a rain or some snow or whatever it may be, dust and everything, this lens is sealed, so you're not going to have to worry about that. Now, one thing to notice about this lens is as you zoom out, it does get bigger. So at 500, this is the full length, and then at 100, it's here. Now, speaking of the zooming, you have a smooth to tight collar right here. And when you adjust that, it makes it easier to zoom in and zoom out. Also, you'll notice it kind of will feed itself back when it's on the smooth side, and on the tight, it's gonna hold that. So if you're using it on a tripod and you're shooting up, you wanna put it on the tight mode, and it won't allow it to creep back down. And as you can see, here's the buttons for image stabilization, the 3 modes. It does come with a tripod mount collar on here, and then it does have the lens hood with the open window that allows you to adjust any variable filters. That came in really handy because I did try it out with a variable ND, which won't be in this video, but I've never really used the open window on my 70-200, and so I took a little test on that. I will be showing on video here, probably while I'm talking about this, is how it compares to the 70-200. Weight-wise, it's not that much heavier than the 70-200 RF. As you saw, they both extend out when they're not internal zooming because I have the first generation of the 70-200. The size difference isn't too much, but given that it is a 500, goes up to 500, is going to be a little bit of a longer lens, and it's a little bigger of a barrel, but not very much. And in the hands, it almost feels the same. Like shooting with the 100 to 500, it didn't feel like a big bulky lens. I was able to move around for softball and baseball this weekend and just test it out, and it felt like I was working with my 70-200, but had that extra reach. And now this lens being a 4.5 to 7.1, I knew that I didn't want to try it out at basketball or an indoor sport, and that's why I held off and waited for baseball and softball season. Luckily, we had some really good weather for lighting. For the most part, we did have some rain come through, but even with the clouds, I had plenty of light and just had to bump up the ISO to like 1200, I think, just to get fast enough speeds to cover softball and baseball. But overall, this lens was very, very good. I was able to go almost anywhere I wanted to within the baseball stadium and the softball stadium and know that this lens was going to be able to cover pretty much all of it. For softball, it was awesome. I was able to go shoot from the outfield, and then I was able to make my way, to the dugout and to the sides by the third base and first base, and I was able to cover literally everything from batting to fielding to the outfield. For baseball, it came in really handy to shoot behind home plate and still cover most of the field and some of the outfield if they were close enough. And then I was able to be in the dugout like I normally am and cover even more of the outfield and further across the field without having to crop so much to get a proper cropped image. Overall, I would suggest this lens to anyone that shoots mostly outdoors. This lens is going to be amazing for outdoor sports or probably even some nature stuff. But when it comes to sports and you have a sunny day or at least an overcast day with enough light, this lens is going to be super awesome to have. I would love to have a 100 or 500 like this in the future. So that's probably the plan, you know, maybe next year or something. But with that said, if you have any questions, just put them down in the comments below. I'd appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.